All right, the situation is complicated, no doubt. But just a few weeks away from the start of the regular season, what do you make of this story that has got so much steam in the city of Toronto?
I mean, obviously no one saw this one coming.
No.
If you believe those close to that team, they are on the verge of announcing a captain.
Yes. Mike Babcock suggested that it was probably the end of camp,
Right.
near the start of camp.
Now, Terry Koshan of The Sun threw out a tweet yesterday, and I brought it up to you, and he said Larry Tannenbaum was at practice. One of the owners. That never happens. Larry Tannenbaum's not seen usually around the practice facility in the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's a game day guy. So I don't know if one has something to do with the other, but in terms of the captaincy in this team, if they were about to make him a captain, which is very much a possibility, what happens now? That's what I'm wondering.
Does it really matter?
I think if you were about to name him captain, and let's say some surveillance video is leaked in the next 48 hours,
That would be the next step in the process of this story if I am an accurate viewer of American news and American law. And what happens is people find a story and no one cared about this story. This is why it took so long to, I mean, this happened in May, right?
May of this year, correct.
And because no one in Scottsdale, Arizona cares who Auston Matthews is, nobody really heard about it. Unless you're checking police scanners or going through reports, you wouldn't hear about this story. Or it was Larry Fitzgerald or a bit Kyler Murray in Arizona. Someone would have passed it on to TMZ or something else.
Easily.
But this was kind of hidden.
Yes, it was.
The part of this that I don't know matters is the captaincy of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, that's a whole different discussion. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Am I old school? Like, figure out what's happened here. There's been a lot of bad takes on this. And I had to drive around today for reasons that I don't want to disclose here, but I was around the car all day today. And I heard a bunch of different things about a bunch of different things from a story that we don't know a hell of a lot about.
Right.
And a lot of it was, would this drunken stupidity cost him the Leafs captains? Let's find out what the hell happened first, and then worry about the Leafs captaincy second. My old school, like in the 1980s, the captaincy meant something. The most distinguished hockey program in the world, the one with the most tradition, the one that does it the best, the Montreal Canadiens, trade their captain like it's cheese strings at recess. Like, I don't understand why there's this rush to judgment on something that we don't know a hell of a... All we have is a police report detailing one side of the story. And I know it's 2019, but why is everyone rushing to make some sort of opinion on this?
Well, first thing, I'd like to know what you traded a cheese string for at recess. Like, I think you're kind of burying the lead on that.
Well,
like, what on earth would you, Big League Chew for the cheese string? Like, what's the deal we're talking about?
Any sort of sweet you would trade for the cheese string.
Okay, well, you're right there.
You got the cheese string. You're offering it up. Nobody wants it.
Cheese isn't a snack. Cheese is something you have with an app or a main.
Right.
And it's a side of some kind.
I don't know if you know this, but Liz McAuliffe did not give sweets oftentimes in one lunch, and we had no sugared cereals. There was no sugared cereals in our house.
Wait a second. Deferring the conversation is not something I wanted to do in this moment, but we're here now.
Right.
So Liz McAuliffe would give you cheese to take to school.
Well, most often I went home for lunch, but when I did
When you did go to school, you had cheese, you were armed with cheese.
And that's it.
And you went to school, it says, I'm willing to wheel and deal.
Right.
If someone has some sour keys.
Right. Didn't get much takers on that.
Really? Shocking. Shocking.
Dexter David always offered me some ketchup chips on the side.
Oh, that's a bad deal for Dexter.
But would allow me to just keep the cheese string.
Why would you do that? That was an inappropriate sidebar. My apologies, I took us there.
Listen.
That's on me.
But here's the other part of this conversation that bugs me a little bit. I'm going to lay it out there. I hate how in 2019, and maybe we have to separate the story from this conversation, the particulars in this story, Auston Matthews and the person who is accusing him. Drunken stupidity, okay? It's inexcusable, we understand it. But why do we have two different conversations when it comes to stories like this? The one that you have between your friends and the one that's had on national television. That's the part of this that I don't really understand. And I hear a bunch of people tiptoeing around a minefield that they did not create.
Right.
And they don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. And I don't understand why the need is to have, I get it, he's a big star. There have been huge stars that have been accused of way more than this in the very same league,
right,
who people joke about now and are all smiles, right?
Right, but you know full well in Leafland, the highest paid guy, first overall pick, 4 goals first night in Ottawa, this is going to have a similar sonic boom. It shouldn't.
That's what I'm asking
But it
you
does.
more. And
But
I
listen,
understand the guy, and that's why I said, is there any way that we can remove the particulars, Auston Matthews and the accuser in this situation, from the conversation? But I get it.
Yeah.
You can't.
Especially if you were going to stand there with a C on a jersey next week.
Right, you're not doing that.
Are you?
No, you're not doing that.
You're not doing that at all?
Unless you find out something, and there was an update on this, and I've lost the update. I apologize.
I got it, Tim.
It appears as though that it's been put off, right?
The procedure, they were supposed to have a hearing today in Scottsdale. Daniel Wallach, a legal expert here, has tweeted that a pre-trial conference, which was originally scheduled for today, has been rescheduled for October the 22nd. So this disorderly conduct charge is not done. They are just going to postpone it, and who knows if they'll just plead to something. I'm not sure. But that's what was supposed to happen today in Scottsdale. It didn't happen, FYI. I am a little worried of someone that comfortable with security guards. Is that wrong to say on national television?
But you don't know what happened.
I saw one version of it. You're right. I've read one version of it. I haven't seen anything.
But even with that version of it, it could be terrible, and it could be something completely different.
Which is why I think that the video, which does exist according to the police report,
right,
and in 2019,
we'll probably see.
I'm seeing Uber video of the Sens, for God's sakes. Like, don't be shocked if between now and the end of the week this thing is out.
But this is like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be proven wrong by the video. When I read Ray Rice, you knew what happened. You didn't need to see the video.
But it was different when you saw the video.
But when everyone saw the video, it became different. This one leaves a lot to the imagination, and the video is important to see if it was innocuous or it was much more than what met the eye. Because when you read this report, and I've read it over a couple of times, you don't really know what happened.
You're right. Put that here, though. If we are to believe the Leafs didn't know about this, which is what's being floated right now.
Okay.
If the Leafs didn't know about this incident in May, they might be a little shook about any announcement next week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that they leave it alone until they find out more on that.
I think the smart play, I'm with you, do not name a captain. This is one of the biggest potential curses in this organization's history. And if I'm Brendan or Kyle, I put this off as long as I possibly can, because there may not be agreement in between the group, regardless if the story came out.
Right.
And not giving it to Auston now and handing it to either John Tavares, who has been a captain, or a guy who I think deserves it, Morgan Riley, that causes another thing, at least in the media, maybe not privately. But you're telling me all the talk we've heard, the 11-point, what's his deal? 11.6 Auston Matthews.
Oh, 6, yeah.
$4 million, forgive me. All that, you put that all on the table. You don't think taking the C away from him potentially is a complete slap in the face to arguably your most important player? See, these are the problems I'm looking at now if you're the Leafs. Because, listen, whether you agree with it or not, the Toronto Leaf media and fan base is the Toronto Leaf media and fan base, and that's not changing. I don't care who doesn't like it. Leave it alone. Put the C in a drawer. Don't bring it out. Let the kid play angry. Let him score 48. But let it go. That's what I would suggest.
The slap in the face, I get that people will talk about that. The kid knows that if he did something wrong, he's not going to be named the captain of the Maple Leafs.
You would assume. You would assume, Timmy. Although we were parsing not that long ago in this show whether or not he was taking the pictures with a C on his jersey. We were parsing.
No, I know, and I know on that. But if he did something wrong, I think he would be the first to admit this is the first, not the time, to name him the captain.
I think you're bang on.
As we've learned throughout the history of time, these things tend to pass if they're rather innocuous. And we don't know if it's innocuous, and all this conversation, all this being had is kind of sort of ridiculous because we don't know. And some of these takes are horrible because we don't know.
Bad ones out there.
So why don't we just wait until we know before we make the I'm
with you.